The fantasy football entourage for winning.
Welcome, Entourage, to this week's edition of Buy, Sell, Hold. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to see the ratio more even to the amount of viewers that I've been getting, guys. Well, let's not waste any more time. We know why you're here, to find out who you should buy, who you should sell, and who you should hold, especially in a tough week 7. All these buys, Zeke and Dallas Cowboys, Buffalo, all these teams, the Chargers, a lot of fantasy relevant teams have bye weeks. So let's see if we could take advantage of these bye weeks. You know, a lot of fantasy managers are in desperate situations. So if you have a winning record right now, you should be looking to take advantage of these teams that are in a pickle because they started off slow, they have bye weeks, or if you have depth, now is the time to move some of that depth for a 2-for-1 trades. Okay. So yeah, let's get into it, guys. My first buy, speaking of buys, is Justin Herbert, coming off a subpar game, his worst game of the season, probably one of his worst games as a pro, but he's still Justin Herbert. So right now, I'm assuming you could probably get him pretty cheap, right? He has a bye. He's coming off a bad week. There's not too many people that want to keep a quarterback coming off a bad week for a bye. But he's one of the few quarterbacks that I think can be a difference maker. He's averaging over 23 points per game. So while I'm not big on quarterbacks and I don't like holding them, if you can, make a bigger trade, sometimes that's even better, because we don't like holding quarterbacks. Or if you want to trade for him after this week, then I would be looking to do that as well. So just always planning ahead. But I just think that Justin Herbert is a tremendous player, one of the few difference makers at the quarterback position, and probably will not be any lower than what he is right now, which is why he made my buy list. Another buy is Joe Mixon. For some reason, Joe Mixon doesn't quite get the respect he deserves, and I get it. He's injured, and I'm not one for injury-prone players. With that said, I just believe, given his upside and given the overall sentiment, how people feel about Joe Mixon, I still think he can be had at a price where it'll make it worth his upside because, as the weather starts cooling, this is a tough division. They're going to run the football, and he's getting a ton of touches. He's one of only 7 running backs, I believe, with at least 100 touches this year, and he's missed a game and was banged up for another. This last week, he looked really good. He got 18 carries, a season-high 6 targets, including a touchdown, so you got to love that. So as long as he's getting that type of work, even if, he ends up, letting you down at the end, I believe the players that you would have to give up to get a player like Joe Mixon will be worth it, even with the injury risk that you're taking on by trading for him. All right. My last buy is Deandre Hopkins. Now, Deandre Hopkins has been kind of polarizing this year, and you'll probably see a lot of analysts have him on the sell list. The reason he's on my buy list, because as bad as he's played, he really hasn't played that bad. I mean, he had a great game week 1, 26 points. I believe he has back-to-back 20-point weeks. And the games he didn't do well is because he was banged up. So I'm not, watching the tape, DeAndre Hopkins does not look like he's lost a step. Now, I think the main concern for most fantasy owners is targets. And I get that. But they can't get any worse. He's still getting 6 targets a game. And not only is he getting 6 targets, but he's getting good targets and red zone targets. He's catching touchdowns. Quickest way to get points is to get those 6s. So he's still getting that, still getting the end zone targets. This is still a potent offense, and an offense that has very injury-prone players all across the board, including their running backs, Connor, Edmonds, AJ Green, Christian Kirk. There's a good chance that one or more of those players are going to get hurt, which means DeAndre Hopkins will end up getting more targets. So for me, it's only a matter of time. I think you could look at it in a situation. Some people are looking at it as a glass half empty. He's not getting targets. I'm looking at it as a glass half full. With the little targets he's getting, he's still killing it. So that's why I think the sentiment is down, and I think it's the prime time to get DeAndre Hopkins. On my sell list is Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, he's one of the most slept on wide receivers every single year. So why does he make my sell list? Well, the sell list is all about selling high, right? And Adam Thielen right now is a wide receiver one. He's the 11th overall wide receiver. However, I do feel that's his ceiling. He will be a borderline wide receiver one, probably more like a top 15 receiver that can go off in any single week. We've seen that already twice this year. He has a 29-point game and a 30-point game, but he's coming off a 29-point game, and he's also had two clunkers before that where he scored under 10 points. So if you can get, and I feel like right now, the difference between an Adam Thielen and, even a CeeDee Lamb or Calvin Ridley or somebody like that, I'd rather go with those type of players, being that you could probably trade them for something similar than to hold on to Thielen and have to deal with those ups and downs and try to see if you can find somebody just a little more consistent. And again, he's not that Thielen's a bad player. I don't think he's a must sell. I just think his value right now is the number 11 overall wide receiver is not going to get much bigger. Okay. And plus, you don't have to deal with the bye. You can get a player that can help you now, unless you trade him for like a CeeDee Lamb or something, which is possible. But either way, right now would be the prime time to trade Adam Thielen. Another player on my sell list is Antonio Gibson. I know I've been having players that I love on my sell list, but hey, this is not a personal thing. This is not an emotional thing. I don't really have emotions. As much as you guys think I fall in love with players, I'm quick to cut a player if he doesn't produce, and I'm quick to cut a player if there is a injury concern, particularly one that could be nagging that has flared up several times already this year. So right now, Antonio Gibson has not been ruled out. So right now you have a really small window to get some sort of value for him, because after tomorrow, if he's ruled out or if he has another did not practice, or we find something from that MRI or something, then his value is going to absolutely plummet. So we might be dealing with a situation where Antonio Gibson's value, even though it's not what it was coming into the year, his value could get a lot less. So right now, I would look to trade Antonio Gibson. You can maybe package him something and buy low on Aaron Jones or Austin Eckler, who has a bye week. If you do have Antonio Gibson, make sure you get Jaret Patterson. I do like McKissic more, but Jaret Patterson is probably available in most of your leagues, and Jaret Patterson actually looked pretty good in the preseason. Also, McKissic's not going to be a 3-down workhorse. He'll primarily be a pass-catching specialist, which is why I think he'll be better. But believe it or not, Jaret Patterson has more league-winning potential, and then he could catch the football as well. McKissic in the past, up to last year, was very injury-prone. So we'll see if he gets added touches and how he'll deal with the extra volume. But I think Jaret Patterson, even though this is a buy, sell, hold video, if you're not able to sell Antonio Gibson and you don't have McKissic, as long as there's, or you should maybe try to make room in your bench, unless your team is like just ridiculously stacked. But Jaret Patterson is not a bad idea. And again, you probably want to try to package Gibson, because one-on-one, you're going to take a big loss, and Gibson still has upside. Let's say it's only a couple of games, but I think it will be at least a couple of games, and worst case scenario, it might even be season ending. So just try to sell. Remember, it's not about the one-on-one. We still want to go after players we like. We just want to make sure if we need to add more. I'd rather you add more and get an Aaron Jones than try to trade Antonio Gibson and only get like Chase Edmonds or something like that. I don't, I'd rather just, fall on the sword of Gibson and go down with Gibson than to try to sell him for a Chase Edmonds. But if you do like a Gibson and a T. Higgins for Aaron Jones or something like that, then I think that's not so bad, Last but not least, Calvin Ridley. Now, this might surprise a lot of you, but Calvin Ridley, he's Or actually, I was gonna say somebody else. Actually, run that back. Well, since I said Calvin Ridley already, reasons why I'm not feeling Ridley now. This one's a little dicey, right? Because he does have some things going for him. He gets a ton of volume, right? And he got a pretty soft schedule all the way up to the playoffs. The problem with Ridley, though, is he's yet to score 20 points per game. This is not a good offense. Okay. And I just didn't feel comfortable with what was going on with this whole, him missing time for personal issues. Then in the past, he's been injury prone. He's missed games every single year. But right now, a lot of people are still excited about Ridley. So it's not one of those things like he's a must sell. Most of these players I'm naming are not must sells, but I think Ridley right now, you could probably exchange him one on one or close to one on one with the Jefferson, with their CD Lamb. Those are the only players I'm really going after because I've seen a lot of you guys come to me with these trades. Hey, should I trade Ridley for, comparable receiver? And I would trade Ridley because I feel like CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, those are more safe receivers. And, Calvin Ridley has a lot of things going for him. The volume. Also, he already had his bye. So I think there's trades to be had there with Calvin Ridley. Okay. And then I guess I'll give you the bonus, though. The other player was Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs does not have any games over 53-yard rushing, so he's basically touchdown dependent. He's not, dominating the volume. He's not getting targets, only had one. I mean, the previous game he had some targets, but this last one only had one. Drake outshined him this last game. They almost split evenly when it comes to, snaps and touches. So I would be selling, especially there's tons of teams that are needy right now at the running back position. I think Josh Jacobs would be wise to move him right now because teams have wide receivers. So you could probably get a lot better player just because there's a surplus of wide receivers and there's a shortage on running backs. All right. Now, my hold list, I mentioned him earlier, Aaron Jones. Reason I like Aaron Jones is because he's great, number one. And the reason I wasn't as high on Aaron Jones like most fantasy owners was because Green Bay has a history of splitting backs. It didn't look that way for the first couple of games. He was really dominating the snaps. But these last few days, A.J. Dillon has come on. So, he's not getting a ton of volume. But the reason I was holding him is because Aaron Jones is so good that even with him over 15 touches, which he hasn't had, I don't think he's had, he had one game where he had like 5 carries against New Orleans. But outside of that, he hasn't had 17 touches. I think it's been the least if you include targets and stuff. He's still their pass catcher, and he's still top 5 in red zone carries. So it looks like he's not only being efficient, but he's getting the better touches in that backfield. That includes, the goal line work and the targets. So that's why I wouldn't sell him. Some people are going to be more concerned, but one way of looking at it is that if you're splitting snaps, then you're more fresh. And I think that was a huge reason why Kareem Hunt was so good, because every time he came in the game, he was like, at 100%, able to just smash those holes. It's a lot different when you have somebody softening them up for you than if you had to be the guy throughout the whole game and having to run constantly on first and second down where the defense knows you're going to run the football. So, I would hold on to Aaron Jones. A.J. Brown, a lot of people are trying to get rid of him. I was very, very surprised earlier in the week. That's why you can't really go by what you hear in the news. Earlier in the week, there was a big concern that A.J. Brown was going to be on a pitch count up to week 10. I guess that went totally out the window when they found out they could beat the Buffalo Bills. And he got a season high, I believe, 9 targets, 7 balls, 90 yards against that, vaunted Buffalo defense. I think he's going to help Henry. I think Henry's going to help him. And I would not be looking to sell him because A.J. Brown has as high upside as any wide receiver in the National Football League. I know he started off slow, but look who's injured. Once again, somebody that was definitely on my avoid list, and I've been telling you guys to trade forever. Julio Jones, this guy cannot stay healthy. he's just, those hits have caught up to him because he's, taking a lot of hits, a lot of targets, a lot of wear and tear on those tires, which means there's going to be more targets, and the Titans are going to have to rely ever so much on AJ Brown. Remember, there's no Corey Davis, there's no Jonnu Smith, there's no Julio. All right. So AJ Brown, as long as he could stay healthy, and we've seen this before. He started off slow last year due to an injury. Same thing, but he can play through the injury. And an AJ Brown at 90% is still better than 90+% of wide receivers out there. So you want to hold them, given that I don't think you're going to be able to get equal value of what he can be for the rest of the season. And then last but not least, Mike Kosicki. Mike Kosicki finally producing like his talent says he should, coming off a 100-yard game, his first of the season. He's been getting a ton of targets, caught 8 passes. And, a lot of people thought he was going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Fall back. I don't know. Because of Tua, a lot of people were concerned that Tua was going to I can't get my words out right now. His production was going to go down because of Tua, but that didn't happen. That did not happen. Devontae Parker's always injured. Will Fuller's always injured. So they can't all go to Waddle. And Gesicki, the great part about Gesicki is most of his opportunities have come out of a slot. So they're basically using Gesicki as a receiver. So the Dolphins defense is trash. I expect his targets to be on par with what they've been. He has been getting like 6, 7, 8 targets or more every single game. He's currently a tight end number 8. So it's hard to find good, reliable tight ends that are genuinely a part of their offense. And that's what Gesicki is. So right now he is a hold. All right. And don't forget, if you want my complete list of buy, sell, holds, you get that included in the premium content. It's only $15 for the whole year, and it includes my waiver wire gems and free agent finds. I send that out Tuesday evening. Right after this video, I'll be sending out my complete list of waiver or trade targets. And then tomorrow evening, my first version of rankings. And then the last version comes out Saturday evening after I've seen all the practice reports. So 4 emails a week, only $15. Most importantly, it supports the channel. Oh, and one last thing, guys. It's crypto season. Bitcoin today hit all-time highs. If you want to talk to me about crypto, leave a comment. I have my own token that we're doing some big things for. Fantasy token, first fantasy sports token ever, or at least fantasy football. So yeah, feel free to contact me about that. It'll be in the description, more info on that, guys. And now the floor is yours. Zach Moss or Mike Davis rest of the season. I'll slightly go Mike Davis. It seems like Zach Moss is still in a a timeshare more so than Mike Davis. Believe it or not, as good as Patterson has played, his snap count has not really affected Mike Davis. His snaps nor his touches. He's still getting a lot of touches. He just hasn't done a whole lot with them, but at the same time, his floor has been, over double digits. So if he gets a touchdown, he can, his numbers will definitely go up. So Mike Davis is kind of a sleeper right now. The time to trade CMC or at least be thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, you have to at least get something decent back, though. You have to at least, get an Aaron Jones, a Nick Chubb, something that some type of RB1, a Barkley. I know you're trading risk for risk, but these players will probably be back a little bit sooner than CMC. So, but it's risky, man. It's risky. And if you could keep them, if you have a winning record, I'd rather that because it's going to be hard to get full value. And we all know a healthy CMC is like an automatic 25 points per game, which no other player outside of maybe Devontae Adams for the most part, but not even Christian McCaffrey is more consistent. So that's hard to replace. Drop Odell, Penny, or Collins. Have to pick up a tight end. I would drop Penny. Who do I drop for Jacoby Myers? Jamal Williams? Definitely not Tony. You could drop Jamal Williams. But not if you have Swift. I have A.J. Brown, Ridley, and DJ Moore as wide receiver, Chubb, C.H.D. Harris on my running backs. Who would you recommend trying to trade for, and who would you give up? I mean, that's kind of like a loaded question. I think Ridley would be the player that you could probably get the most for. Chubb and CEH, I don't think you're going to get full value. Damian Harris is coming off a good game, so I would try to trade those two. Who you could get, I'm not sure. I don't know how your league works, but you guys know who I like. So go after the players who you like first, or who I like, if you want to take my recommendations, and then go from there, because it doesn't matter who we think you could get for them. The owner's not interested in those players. It's pointless, right? So you try to angle a trade, maybe look for a team that could use a player like Damian Harris. So you're just not just throwing stuff up and hoping it sticks. And a player that has a receiver comparable to Ridley. You know what I'm saying? So this way, if you trade away a potential top 5 receiver, you hedge your bets, because it's risky, guys. When you trade away, players of that caliber, I'm not perfect. I could be wrong. And if you're wrong, you would at least want to say, well, at least guy got this guy. It's not that bad. You know what I'm saying? They're calculated risk, but they're always a risk. Is Deshaun Watson going to Miami? Rumors enough to stash him? Yeah, I picked him up in one league. Should I trade away Hollywood Brown for Miles Sanders? I'm in need of running back. I mean, that's not really a good trade. I know you need a running back, but if Miles Sanders continues to play like he's played and averaging less than 10 points, then is that really solving any issues, right? So for that, you might as well, I don't know, pick up Jarrett Patterson and see if Antonio Gibson misses a game, because he could probably get you the same amount of points. So I would try to get a little more. So if you want to get Sanders, make sure you get Sanders and a little something extra. Thoughts on A-Rob rest of the season? I mean, I figure he can't play this bad, I'm not dropping him. I'm not trading for him unless it's like Brandon Ayuk, who's also struggling. But like, you just gotta wait and see. I really don't know, because I don't know how much I love Justin Fields. The offensive line's a mess. They're not throwing a lot. Their defense is pretty good, so game script is not going to be in their favor. But he is a talent, and he could, if there's any player that could turn around, it is Allen Robinson. Bateman, Waddle, Callaway, Landry, Ruggs need to start one wide receiver for Diggs. I'm not doing start sits because I haven't really looked at the matchups. I have Tony and Bateman on bench, other waivers, so I would need to drop Bateman or Tony if there is a better waiver option. I'm not dropping Tony or Bateman probably. So get back to me on that one. Chris is on wire. Drop A-Rob for Kirk. No, absolutely not. So have you already answered this? Got to go back and watch. What do you think about Keenan Allen and Ayuk right now? I think obviously I feel better about Keenan Allen because A, he's got a better quarterback. B, he's still integral part of their offense. I think I said that right. I don't know why I can't talk today. So yeah, I mean, Keenan Allen, he should be fine. He'll have better games. Ayuk, your guess is as good as mine. Unless that bye week does absolute wonders for him, I have a lot less faith in Ayuk, but I'm not dropping him yet, just in case. I mean, some of your leagues you could drop him, definitely in 10-team leagues. Chris on Bateman, game changer. Thoughts on Bateman? I mean, I'm not big on him like a lot of these other. I don't necessarily see him as a game changer. I see him as maybe somebody you might be able to flex, but game changer with Hollywood there, with Andrews there, as much as they like to run the ball, I don't know about that one. Hit the like button, show some love. Yeah, please. If there's 21 of you guys in here, there should be at least 21 likes, unless you guys are just like secretly spying because you want to hate, which I don't think so. Knox injury. He should be back. I mean, he might miss like 2 games or something. So he's a good tight end, though. He's worth holding on to as much as it sucks to hold on to 2 tight ends, unless you just want to trade him and don't want to deal with it. Make sure you are improving your lineup, though, of course. Better that I guess you meant defense. Saints versus Seahawks or Bucks versus Bears. Um, I'll go with the Saints on this one, just because I just think they're a better defense. So if you got to hold them, they're kind of like a every week start. Even though Bears give up a lot of points, but I think Geno Smith could be good for a couple turnovers too. Would you trade away McKissick for Mike Davis? He has Gibson. That one's tough. I hate trades. I like trades that I like clearly win that make, because it's almost like point swapping. And I feel like in a sense you're almost making him better. Mike Davis, though, I guess. I don't know. I think I'd still would go with Davis. I think I would make that trade, particularly this week if you need somebody. Atlanta plays the soft Miami Dolphins run deep, so Davis is definitely. I think that gives him the edge, and he's still getting a lot of touches, like I mentioned earlier. He just needs to get in the end zone. Yeah, Knox I think is still worth holding on to. Saints or Panthers. It is a toss-up. I think the Panthers has some upside, more upside than the Saints, although I like the Saints, but their schedule is a little tough. And Panthers, I think once they start getting some of these players back from injury, Henderson, I think he might have missed a game. Remember, Gilmore's coming now. Hopefully they'll get J.C. Horn back. So if they could get that secondary tightened up with their front seven, I think they have more upside, and they both have juicy matchups. Carolina plays the Giants and then the Saints for Seattle. So I just give the slight edge to the Panthers. But Saints are really good defense too. So that's one of those I could be wrong, but just my personal opinion, gut. What running back should I try to target for an upgrade at RB3? I have Najee, just Jonathan Taylor, James Conner, McKissick, Dylan, and Gainwell. An RB3, Javonte Williams would be ideal, obviously. Alex Collins, if you want to take a stab at him. There's not too many bona fide RB3s. I'm trying to think of somebody off the bat. Maybe try to get Sanders for cheap. As an RB3, I would take my chances with that. Or if you're doing good, if you have a winning record, go after Montgomery. That would be cool. Yeah, if you need to win this win, and even if you don't, I think Davis is good, and then he's got 20-point potential this week against the Dolphins coming off a bye. Think Woods will have another big game like Week 6 versus Lions. I own Stafford, playing him over Hurts. Thoughts? I haven't looked into the games. Woods could go off in any week, but I think those types of games are going to be far and in between. I think that Seattle game was kind of an anomaly, just because it was the perfect storm on a short week on a bad secondary on the outside, where that's even where they're worse. So I wouldn't expect that type of week, but he can go off. But I think it's going to be a lot less frequently than what we've seen in the past. Gibson for D-Hop. If you get D-Hop for Gibson, I would take that all day. Thoughts on Browns? I think Johnston is going to get a lot of volume. This is still a great run blocking offensive line. It's still a great scheme. He comes from the Kubiak tree, Dalvin Cook, zone blocking. And Denver, while they're really good against the run, they are playing on a short week. So just throw everything out the window. So I think Deandre Johnson could be a decent RB2 based on the amount of volume that he's going to get. And he could still get a couple catches, even if Demetric Felton is more fit for that role. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. So any last questions, get them in now. Make sure to huddle up. Crypto, fantasy token. Let me know. Got a great opportunity, guys. Even if it's not fantasy token, just get into crypto. The world is changing. NFTs, metaverse, reality meets digital. It's all going to be one, guys. And this is the time to make those investments so you can set yourself up nicely for the future. This is not financial advice, but look around. Do your research. Ramondre Stevenson or Dearness Johnson this week? Dearness Johnson. I am getting Ridley, giving up AB full PPR. There's some risk in that, but I think the risk is worth it in that scenario. So, yeah, I would take Ridley for AB. AB's currently dealing with a minor injury, but so, yeah, I would do it. But it could go either way. Don't come, rapper, you told me to trade Ridley for AB because AB, let's face it, he's wide receiver 7 right now. But, you know, he did have 2 huge games. He could keep it up. There's more mouths to feed there. Ridley's younger. So I'm missing a stud wide receiver in half PPR. Can you think of a good trade target for me? I've got Keenan, Ayuk, Schultz, Kosicki, plus a couple RB2s that I could trade for. I mean, the trade targets would be just the receivers that I like. CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, although pay attention to him, he's nursing a hammy. Who else? I think a receiver that you could probably get on the low right now is Chase Claypool. I don't know if he qualifies as a stud wide receiver, but he does have a lot of upside, and he's coming off a lackluster game. Now that Juju is not in the picture, that's one less person he has to share targets with. Deontay Johnson tends to get banged up, so that's somebody I would be targeting. Gibson, I covered, but I would sell Gibson right now. That injury, this might be your last opportunity to sell him before he's out for this week and potentially a lot longer. Trade AJ Green for Cooper, absolutely. Yes, that's a perfect sell high. Dodgers or Braves tonight? I'll go with LA since I live there. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. If you have any other questions, just comment down below. Until next time, peace. We out.